So today, I'm going to talk about various, techniques and things like that that I think are useful for you all to apply if you're looking for a relationship and if you're wanting to either date and then find somebody through dating, and but then importantly after that, it's what happens after that actually that is really important too. Some people get stuck at the first step and they can't get themselves out to actually go and date and meet somebody. So we can help you with that. But then also other people, yeah, it's what happens after you meet somebody quite often that is the important thing. So it's first of all, you've got to actually figure out the right person in the first stages, try to get that down as much as possible. And there are definite things that you can do to have a process that will enable you to figure out whether the people that you are dating are going to have potential for you as a relationship going forward. And then there's the second part of the equation, which is actually building, moving from dating and getting into seeing somebody on a regular basis, shifting into that. And then after that, we get into what I think is can quite often be the real challenge. Once you get into a relationship, then we have to find ways of dealing with the emotional things that can come up for us, particularly if you are a person who, like me, perhaps didn't have the greatest example in your childhood of parents who had a functional, happy relationship. And, you internalized a lot of anxiety, stress, low self-worth, low self-esteem, low self-confidence around love and relationships. And so particularly in that instance, you may need to get support and unravel that so that you clear the channels. So, if you are a person who, is here today because you, have had failed relationships and things, haven't been working out for you, then, take heart. I'm a person who had that too, and I have gone on to have successful relationships in my adult life and to be happy, which is where I am today. And so it's my privilege and purpose to support people like yourselves in speeding up that journey so that you don't need to take all the time that it took me, and you don't need to fall into the potholes that I fell into. And I like to act as a guide and to support people on their journey. So, I kind of like the idea of head, hormones, and heart, because there are those three areas that seem to be really important in meeting somebody. So let's just first talk about the hormones, shall we? Because, that can be a really big trap for somebody, for people, because those hormones, my gosh, these hormones are, the oxytocin that gets released when we start to meet somebody, we start to get close to somebody. It's very, very powerful, and it can be so powerful that it overrides our head and it overrides our heart. So, there are a few basic things that I would suggest to prepare yourself for a relationship. One of them is if you are a man, or a woman, and you use pornography, I would suggest that you stop. Because if you really want a relationship, that absolutely blocks your ability to connect with another person. And unfortunately, in the culture that we are in today, it's very prevalent, it's everywhere. And it can be like an addiction for people. So you want to be able to get clear of that so that you're able to have that ability to respond in a natural way to somebody. So it's a bit like, let me see if I can give you an example of if you do a lot of caffeine, for example, or a lot of alcohol, it impedes your ability to be able to be centered and to make really good judgments. So So that's, one little aspect. And then also, I think to really respect our hormones and respect what a powerful drug it is. And again, men, if you're with a woman and she is saying, or the other way around, women, same thing. If the person that you're dating is wanting to maintain some space, it's important to really respect that, because what's happening is that the person is aware, subconsciously usually, that once those hormones get going, it's really difficult to stop. It's a bit like jumping off the diving board. You jump, you get those hormones get going, and then we're not able to see as clearly as about who we're actually meeting and who we're dating. So the physical aspect of a relationship is really important, though. That's the other thing I wanted to say about this. That physical connection between opposites has to be there in a relationship. There has to be, and it's very strange that it sometimes is present and it sometimes isn't present. It's a very amorphous, and there doesn't seem to be a particular, because it's not necessarily to do with how good looking a person is. It's just about how we feel about them. But personally, I think that the physical connection for intimacy is an essential part of a relationship. So we have to respect it, but also it has to be present. So, not to shy away from that. And also to allow that to develop is really, really important. So then I want to talk about the head and the mindset. This is a new word that us psychologists are using these days, about having the right mindset to have a relationship. And I can't tell you how important mindset is in terms of having the right approach to having a relationship. I'm going to give you an example from my own, one of the people who's been with me was a woman, and she was going to a lot of meetups, and she was saying to me, she's saying, "Oh, Lorraine," she said, I just, this is nobody that would be interesting for me, at meetups. I just don't meet anybody that I'm attracted to at meetups. That was her mindset. So I said, okay, well, let's see if we can change that. So there are plenty of people at meetups who I find attractive. I said to her, and I said, I want you to really take this idea on board, that there are people who go to, which of course there are. If you stop and think about it, at meetups, there's going to be all kinds of people who go to meetups. You go to a meetup and there's 50 people there. You're not going to tell me that there's nobody there who you could at least like and have a conversation with and might maybe be a bit attracted to. So I got her to change that. And within 3 weeks, she was with somebody. And I'm not sure she's still with the person, but anyway, she ended up having a proper relationship, which she hadn't had for 10 years. And that's something I also want to say actually here, because one of the things is that we're so afraid. We're so afraid of making mistakes, of getting hurt again, and particularly if you've had a bad history. Oh gosh, it's so tough sometimes to get the courage, what I call my business, the courage to connect, the courage to get in there again and try again. And the thing is that she got in the swimming pool, she started to splash about, and she did have a relationship. I don't think it did actually last. I think it lasted about 1.5 years. But this was a woman who hadn't had a relationship for years. And relationships are like anything else. You have to practice them. So it may be that you get into a relationship and it doesn't lead to, marriage and kids and, all the rest of it. It doesn't last for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And you know what? It doesn't actually matter if you're able to approach the relationship in a mature way without all that heavy emotional baggage. And that heavy emotional baggage that people carry with them is to do with the past. So one of the things that I do with people who come and train with me is that we go through your past. We go through like what actually happened. What are the feelings and the symptoms that have left you today as you are today. So the head, yeah. So there are, of course, there are endless, techniques and things like that that I can teach you to, first of all, meet somebody and also to be able to negotiate. Because every relationship actually is a negotiation. And I know that might sound a bit kind of cynical. Actually, it's actually really realistic. Even when you love somebody, there's still going to be things they want to do this and you want to do that. And so how are you going to be able to, figure out what you're going to do? Or the biggest thing that can happen with people who have come from dysfunctional childhoods or who've had bad experiences in their lives is that you can't work out whether the things that are going down that are not right are to do with you or to do with the other person or to do with both of you, and how to get past that. So this brings me to the third thing, which I think actually is the most important of all of the head hormones and heart. The heart coming from a place of love. Because that gives our lives meaning. And to have people that we are intimate with, people that we are close to, and this can apply to friends, having good friendships as much as having a primary one-to-one relationship. This is what gives our lives meaning. This is how we get witnessed in our lives. This is what gives us the ability to expand our lives, to touch other people, to communicate, to share, to give with the energy of love. That is what makes people feel good. It isn't about just money and status and all of those things. It's actually about being able to share with another person this experience of being alive and learning to come from a place of abundance in loving somebody rather than a place of scarcity. So if it's like scarcity is like, oh gosh, I'm so afraid of getting hurt. I better not say this. I better not say that. Or I better protect myself here. I better, do this. I do that, do that. As you get more confident, you don't need to protect yourself so severely because you're going to be okay. So it's getting to that place in yourself where you are rising above your fears and you are realizing that actually you're here to give. You're here to share yourself with other people. And that's a different thing than self-sacrifice. When you give, you come from a place of abundance rather than from a place of needing approval, needing something from somebody else. So it doesn't mean that you are a walkover or that you're weak. On the contrary, it means that you are actually really strong. And so from that place of strength, yes, you may need to put boundaries in place. You may need to say no sometimes, no, this behavior is not okay. No, that behavior is not okay for me. I don't like that. That's not all right for me. But when it's coming from a place of abundance, you know in yourself that it's the right thing. And so you're able to support yourself around all the fears and the different emotions that can come up as you put boundaries in place. And so it's beginning to develop that inner confidence in yourself that you are in the right place and you're doing the right thing at the right time